This is a story from when I was 25 years old. My name is Lucas. At the time, I had a junior colleague named Daria, who was 2 years younger than me. Aria had just graduated from university and was a fresh recruit, still not knowing much about anything. I was assigned as her mentor. However, I was only in my second year with the company myself. Until Aria came, I had been the youngest employee because the company hired nobody after me. While I had become quite familiar with my own work, teaching others was proving to be quite challenging. I struggled with mentoring Aria. To make matters worse, Aria was a very cheeky girl. In the first week, she listened quietly, but once she got a bit comfortable, she would tease me, her senior, as if making fun of me.
Oh, Lucas, you're so good at teaching today.
Or,
That was a good way to explain.
these kind of sarcastic remarks became a daily occurrence. Being naturally non-confrontational, I would just laugh them off and let them slide. Also, Aria had an excellent memory and was talented, and her outgoing and cheerful personality was evident compared to someone like me who didn't have many friends during my student days. Due to these qualities, Aria became well liked within the company. I honestly had difficulty dealing with Aria's cleverness.
Lucas, want to go grab a bite after this?
There were many occasions where I had to work overtime to finish tasks through the next day, and it would be just the two of us working in the office. Every time, Aria would invite me like that. No, I'll pause. I'm tired today. I would make such half-hearted excuses and always decline. Bright and cheerful individuals like Aria had no problem casually going out for drinks with people from the office, but I disliked eating with my colleagues. And with Ariana, I imagined it'd be even worse. However, one evening, we had a company drinking party. Since it was almost mandatory for everyone to participate, even I had no choice but to go. I sat alone and had some grilled meat as I watched my lively colleagues. Luckily, I was sitting at the end, so I didn't have to actively engage in conversation, and I felt relieved. But soon I found out I was naive to think like that.
Lucas, aren't you drinking at all?
Aria sat next to me, already slightly tipsy. She was holding an orange cocktail in hand. Oh, I was barely putting up with a noisy bar, and three came a little light-headed girl. I think my reluctance was clearly written on my face, but Aria continued talking next to me as if she didn't mind.
Lucas, do you have a girlfriend?
Oh, here we go. Girls always want to talk about these things. I don't want to talk about it because it's troublesome. While I was hesitating to respond, Fiona, who was sitting in front of us, answered instead.
Oh yes, he does. He has a girlfriend.
I was surprised by her response. How do you know? I had only discussed such matters with my closest collegians, so one of them must have told Fiona. Seeing my surprised expression, Aria asked,
So, you do have a girlfriend. What is she like?
"It's none of your business." Even if I said that, Aria would probably spread it around. With a sigh, I reluctantly answered, "We were classmates in college. About a year ago, we ran into each other and started dating." Upon hearing those words, Aria looked at me with a smirk and said,
Oh, really?
I felt like I was being ridiculed. So I decided to ask back, "What about you? What's your story?" Taking a deep sigh, Aria replied.
Yeah, I have a boyfriend, all right.
Her expression was different from her usual cheerful self. I wondered why she had such a face. Just as I was about to ask out of curiosity, Aria's phone rang, and she went away. She's like a storm. I thought to myself as I took a breath and observed. At that moment, Fiona said,
Is that her boyfriend?
I pretended to be uninterested and replied, "Who knows?" Even though I didn't care, I ended up hearing something I couldn't ignore.
You know what? Aria's boyfriend is apparently very possessive and aggressive, physically.
Huh. Even though I disliked Aria, I couldn't just ignore that. How do you know about that? I asked Fiona. She replied,
Well, my sister used to work part-time with Aria during their student days, and she heard it from her.
Before I could ask further, Aria returned, so I couldn't inquire anymore. I couldn't believe that Aria, who always acted cheerful and cheeky, was in an abusive relationship. I didn't have any evidence, and I left the drinking party, not really convinced of Fiona's words. After the drinking party, Arya remained the same. She continued to make fun of me and laugh. No, it must be a lie that she's with a violent guy. Maybe Fiona's sister misunderstood. I thought to myself, as I kept an eye on Arya during work hours. I saw no signs of distress. I was beginning to feel certain that she was okay. One day, I left the office after work without my wallet, and so returned to pick it up. To my surprise, the lights were still on, and only Arya was there, working late. When I mentioned that I had come back because I had forgotten my wallet, she playfully teased.
Lucas, you're really forgetful, aren't you?
"What were you doing?" I asked, trying to change the subject. Arya replied, looking a little embarrassed.
I was reviewing my lesson.
"Reviewing your lesson?" It sounded like something from elementary school. I didn't understand what she meant, so I went to take a look at Arya's desk. There, I saw a small notebook filled with handwritten notes. It was Arya's notebook that she always carried around. When I looked at her computer, I could see work-related tasks displayed that matched the contents of the notes.
I don't have a good memory, so I review what I learned from others at work.
Arya explained. Looking at the number of notebooks spread across her desk, it was clear that she wasn't lying. I see. Arya wasn't naturally talented at her job. She was putting in hidden efforts to improve herself. Yet, I assumed that she was naturally good. I suddenly felt sorry for Arya.
Oh, are you thinking how adorable and cute it is of me to try like this?
Arya said with a cheerful laugh, teasing me as always. It still irritated me a little. "I'm not thinking anything like that," I replied, getting a bit irritated. Arya's usual smile disappeared at once. "Oh, you were just teasing me again. Sorry, I didn't mean to." Feeling like I had hurt her, I apologized, but her expression remained unchanged. Did I say something wrong? It was you who started teasing me." As I pondered about what to do, Arya spoke up.
I know I'm not cute.
I heard words from Arya that I couldn't believe came from her mouth. At first, I thought she was joking, but gradually, I realized that it wasn't the case.
My boyfriend always tells me that I lack cuteness. So when I try to act more feminine, he accuses me of trying to attract other guys. And when I behave cheerfully like a boy, he says I'm just being foolish. It seems that no matter what I do, I'm no good. So it's natural that he hits me and kicks me around. I deserve people like that.
Arya spoke in a detached tone, as if something inside her had snapped. That wasn't the usual Arya, so I was almost sure about her abusive boy grin. My mind was spinning with various thoughts, and I couldn't find any words to say.
You know the saying, birds of a feather flock together. Having a terrible boyfriend who resorts to violence means I'm a terrible person too.
Arya's words echoed through the silent office where there were only the two of us. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't think of anything. What was the word? Codependency? That's when you're in a bad relationship but can't break free. When others around you think you should because you need it and feel. Whatever I said, being an outsider, my words would have just sounded hollow, so I couldn't say anything. Perhaps Arya noticed my confusion.
Just kidding.
She laughed and started tidying up her desk. Part of me felt relieved hearing those words, but I quickly realized it was a lie. As Arya tidied up her notes, I saw her hands trembling. I decided to stop thinking too much. I should say what I'm thinking right now. That's what I thought. Aren't you actually crying for help? You told me because you wanted me to help, right? Stop pretending and deceiving yourself. Hearing my words, Arya's movement came to a halt, and she lowered her head.
Pretending?
She asked. Yeah. Aren't you actually suppressing your feelings because you think you can't change the situation? Aren't you actually trying to convince yourself that you can only be with terrible people? You believe that good people won't love you, but there are plenty of good people out there who love you. I couldn't see Arya's face, so I didn't know how she was reacting. I worried that I might have misunderstood. The doubt crossed my mind, but at that moment I was more concerned about Arya.
Would you be one of such people, Lucas?
She threw a completely unexpected question at me. Of course, With people loving her, I didn't mean anything personal. It was about people, like colleagues at the company, thought well of Arya as a person. So if she took it as the same meaning, but when asked in that way, I couldn't help but be confused. Well, yeah, I mean, I like you. She should have understood that nuance. So I shouldn't have felt embarrassed saying that. I hope that my embarrassment didn't show. And it was true that by that time I no longer felt a dislike towards Arya. Interacting with the cheerful Arya had become a part of my daily life, and I even found her teasing and smiling at me endearing. As I worked alongside her, I started noticing a lot of good things about Arya. Wait, what's going on here? Looking back, I realized that since some time, the first thing I did when I arrived at the office was to look for Arya with my eyes. No way, that can't be true. First of all, I already had a girlfriend. I didn't have any intention of cheating, but I couldn't deny what I had realized. Even though I tried to suppress my true feelings, I just told myself not to. I just said it now.
Thank you so much, Lucas. You're so kind.
Arya smiled again, but with a slightly different smile, and left the office. I remained standing there, unable to move, with her face lingering in my mind. From then on, I couldn't get Arya out of my head. Even when I was with my girlfriend, I would think about Arya and acted cold towards my girlfriend. I started feeling guilty towards her, despite myself. I didn't mean for this to happen. Despite enjoying the time spent with my girlfriend, who was quiet and had similar hobbies, I didn't have the same feelings about her anymore. I decided to break up with her. When she asked me for the reason while shedding tears, I thought that this might be my last chance to give an honest answer. So I said, I've developed feelings for someone else. It was ironic that by saying those words, I reaffirmed my own feelings. I ended up falling in love with Arya, whom I used to dislike so much. As for Arya, she continued to interact with me as usual after that day, and I wasn't sure of what to do. Arya had a boyfriend, and if I were to approach her, it would complicate her relationship with her boyfriend. Besides, if I declared my love to her and got rejected, it would make things awkward at work. Time passed, and I still couldn't make any decisive move. Then one day, the company decided to send me on a one-year overseas assignment. It was a great honor, and something I had aimed for since I joined the company. The only problem was I would not be able to see Arya anymore. Being a coward, I couldn't face Arya, so I embarked on my journey overseas, maintaining the same tie with her as colleagues who had always worked together since the day we first met. On the day of my departure, I headed to the airport alone. When I arrived there, Arya was there. Why are you here? I blurted out, surprised by her presence. Arya replied in a slightly sharpened tone, acting displeased.
Am I not allowed to be here?
It's not that. Inside, I was shouting, I'm so happy you are here. Really happy. But I couldn't be honest even in a situation like this, so I could only mumble.
When you are gone, there won't be anyone to tease anymore.
And over there, I'd be bored with no cheeky coworker like you around. Until the very end, I was like that. Couldn't I just say thank you for coming or anything like that? Despite those feelings, the time for the flight was rapidly approaching. Well then, I'll go, I said as I stood up from my seat.
Take care,
Arya said to me with her usual bright smile. At that moment, when I saw her smile, an overwhelming feeling of affection feel the same way about me. If you still feel that way 1 year from now, I want you to wait for me here. I continued. Suddenly feeling embarrassed, I left without waiting for Arya's response. As time passed, I started to think, why did I say that? Maybe I went too far. She probably thought I was just like those crazy characters in TV dramas. Self-disgust crept in. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 1 year passed while I worked hard overseas. And finally, it was the day of my return home. I arrived at our promised meeting place, but there was no one there. Well, that's to be expected. I feel embarrassed for expecting something, I thought as I was about to head back alone. But then,
Lucas,
I heard a familiar voice from behind. I turned around, and there was Aria. Her hair, which used to be shoulder length, had grown to about her collarbone, and she seemed somewhat more mature. I could feel my heart pounding, and I was at a loss for words because of so many emotions I felt. Aria mischievously smiled and said,
thought I wouldn't come.
I nodded in response.
Because I love you too, Lucas. I'm sure I've loved you even before that day. So when you said those words, I decided to come here today.
Aria said with that same smile that I found so endearing. As I felt relieved that our feelings were mutual, tears welled up in my eyes. Aria, who was the same as I remembered, teased and laughed at me for my tears, but I had come to see even that as happiness. I was head over heels in love with Aria. While I was away, Aria did serious soul searching and broke up with her boyfriend. She trusted the words I once said about plenty of people loving her and sought her friend's support in breaking up with her boyfriend peacefully. Nowadays, Aria often expresses her gratitude for the words I said with such difficulty. But it's me who is truly grateful for her cheerful and straightforward character, which brightens me up every day. I feel like I've become cheerful myself, to the point where the quiet person I used to be feels like a lie. Aria and I are completely opposite in many ways, and it's true, after all, opposites attract. Our days are filled with happiness. What happened that day when Aria shared her deep thoughts with me, the chance of my going back to the office for the wallet, and ultimately, the fact that we found ourselves at the same workplace, everything has led to us being together here today. After the ups and downs and painful memories, I am determined to make Aria happy. This feeling is undeniable. 2 years have passed since that day, and today is our wedding day. We are going to be the happiest ever.